Anytime you go on the road, it's funny how it balances out. You go into another team's rank. And if I recall, you have to look this up. Someone said that was their first regulation loss in the CCHA in their own rank. This year on Friday. Someone mentioned that to me. I'm not sure, but not nonetheless. Like, they're a really good hockey club, and but you win Friday, so you're really feeling good going into Saturday, like thinking, okay, if we can just, muster up this win, like you start thinking. And it's funny how the splits really play an emotional kind of content to how, you feel come Sunday. Because you lose Friday and win Saturday, you wake up Sunday feeling great that you pulled out the split right off it, and you feel real good because you got that big win. When you win Friday and lose Saturday, you're like, ooh, you're kind of down in the dumpsters. But, in hindsight, when you look at going into those rinks, you want to get as many points as you can. And you got to give credit where credit's due. They're a really good club. To get a split in that type of, game it's not ideally what we want, but it's not a bad thing either. There's a lot we can build off of, a lot we can, take from that weekend. And again, that's a really good hockey club that, they made some changes to Saturday, and, give them credit. They beat us there, 4-2 with an empty netter, but we didn't quit. We're down 3-1. We made it 3-2. We had our goalie out with some good looks, and that's the way it goes.
You had some great comments, too, about Jacob, of course, unfortunately having to leave the game Saturday. Tyler comes in, and I know he was ready to go. That's what you were talking about, but still, is it another thing entirely? What's that process like for a player, and then able to overcome having to come in a situation like that? Always difficult, even if you're supposed to be ready to go.
Yeah,
right?
Really, and especially since he hasn't played since December 5th, maybe 4th, 5th, somewhere in that Northern Michigan weekend, right? And it's nothing. Well, actually, he played against the U.S. team. It's in the exhibition, but his first regular season or CCHA game's been a few months, and but we went in that game with Cole playing Friday, knowing that Cole's night's off Saturday. Jacob starts on Saturday for us, and backing up was going to be Tyler, off it, and I feel good about that. Like I think if you look at the goals that got let in, to go in cold at the 8-minute mark, that's pretty hard, especially if you haven't played in 2 months right off it. But if you ask any of our guys, he's an unbelievable teammate, unbelievable competitor. He's just like Cole and Jacob. I've said all along, I feel comfortable with all three goalies in net, and I continue to say that. I thought he did a really nice job coming in. All three goals were off of tips and screens, off them, which are maybe a little bit of from not playing in some time, could be you're not really in that rhythm, off it. But I thought he battled, made great second, third saves for us, gave us an opportunity, and we just didn't get that third goal. So big credit to him, for coming in and doing a great job for us.
I want to ask you, Coach, night one to night two, it certainly felt like possession went your guys' way in night one, and obviously came away with the 1-0 victory. But night two seemed definitely more 50-50 and back and forth, and they just got some that fell through and you guys didn't. But what did you see as that adjustment that they made between night one and night two? What changed for you guys?
Well, I think you had more of a desperate team probably, when you look at that. They're at home. They're going into their last weekend of play this weekend, off it, and the last thing be no different than us here. When you lose a Friday night at home, we always say you kind of got a desperate dog. You got to get going. You got to try to find a way to get points, and they capitalize on some plays 5-on-5 going to the net off it, and again, like I always say, it's hard to win. It's hard to sweep in this league. It's hard to sweep in any college hockey if you look across the board. The parity is so tight off it. But if you think about, where we were from the beginning of the year to now, we're in a good spot. And that's what we look at. We look at the progression weekend after weekend, where we were from, our first weekend after the break. We're in a better spot. Where were we the first weekend before the break? We're in a much better spot, But we got to continue to climb, and we got to continue to build. And obviously this weekend's going to be another really, really good test for us.
Yeah, two individuals that we thought of, Braden Crampton being one of them, seemed to play very well defensively. Also got a goal, which he tried for a couple weeks ago too. And then Tyler Hodson had 2 out of the 3 goals this weekend on the power play as well. Now the team leader in goals. What can you say about their performances this weekend, Hottie and Crampton?
Yeah, well, both like Braden was brought in to elevate our offense on the back end. I think he leads our team in shot attempts, shots on net probably often. Obviously, I knew him quite well, coaching against him for at least 3 years in Spokane. I think we haven't even seen his full potential. He's still, as a first-year player, figuring out, still a daily routine, a daily schedule, how to take care of yourself, night in and night out, day in and day out. Because, again, the one thing is he's playing against bigger, stronger guys. What he can do on that blue line, he's very elusive, heads up, great deception, can find, pucks getting through. Does a really good job. Not afraid to shoot pucks, which is big up there. It's you got to have a lot of confidence in that, because again, when you're looking at different layers of possibly getting blocked and coming back the other way, the one thing for Cramps is he gets it, he grips it and rips it almost every time, which is great. And then Hottie, Tyler Hodson again was brought in to again help do the hardest thing it is to do, is to score goals. And what I liked about his goals were they right around the net. Like he's in the right areas of blue paint. It's hard to score on today's goalies, and let alone that goalie from Augustana from far out. If you don't have screens or second, third opportunities, you might as well just go out to the baseball field and play catch with them. You're just going to catch those all day long, right? So the way we scored those goals were good, gritty goals, inside the blue paint. And then the one with Cramps was great traffic net front by Noah Morneau. We had guys with layered stack screen out there, and they weren't able to see it. So, but both those guys are big contributors, not only just offensively, but also 5-on-5.
Yeah, and then coming into the weekend, both Augustana and you guys were top 3 in both special teams, power play and penalty kill, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities, but they came at some pretty key times. How did you feel like your team played both on power play that didn't score since the first goal, and then penalty kill as well that held them pretty low?
Yeah, special teams were solid. I thought it was a great officiating game. I thought it was really good. It felt like playoff hockey, right? They didn't need to call any little stuff, either way. I thought I said that right after the game. I thought the linesmen, I didn't see them toss any guys out. I think all our centermen were going to take faceoffs, which was great. And I thought they just had a really good control of the game. There was a lot of extracurricular out there in between the two teams, but I thought anytime there was it 2-3 power plays each game. Off it, and having the goal on Friday was huge, because that was the only difference in the game, and then our penalty kill I thought did a solid job again. So but this time of year you got to have good special teams to win. You have to have good penalty kill, you have to have a good power play, you have to be able, because you might only get 2 or 3 chances. You might only get 2 power plays in a game. That's where you really need to execute and have on demand performance. Same with the kill, off it. So it's good. I think we're trajecting in the right way with them too.
This weekend as well, Minnesota State also has one of the top goaltenders in the CCHA with Alex Tracy, but just their team top to bottom, very talented, heavier team as well. Just what can you expect from them, considering their consistent style of play and meeting up against them earlier in the year?
Yeah, they are reigning champs, right? So, yeah, we got the big boys, right? We got the heavy hitters coming in, so we got to be sharp. We got to be good. We got good goaltending. They got a pedigree of winning. The CCHA, the WCHA. They've been in the NCAA tournaments. They got a lot going for them. A lot of people are, questioning or asking, oh well, they're in whatever 4th or 5th right now. You don't want to play them. They're a good team. They're a reason. There's no panic to them either. We kind of talked about that with Augustana. They're comfortable playing in those tight games. There's no panic on these guys. They've been there, done it. They know how to handle it. So the challenge for us is going to be able to, keep our energy level, at bay, stay in the moment, making sure we're not getting too high or too low. And then you're going to have to play a complete game in order to beat these guys.
Yeah, just speaking on the special teams there again, throughout the season has stood out for you all with the, I believe the highest rated power play conversion rate, and then the second best on the penalty kill in the conference. For you, is there anything that you've seen from the guys to get both sides of the special teams up to an elite level in the conference, and what you've made of those performances so far this season?
Yeah, it's funny because special teams, you look at the beginning of the year, we were behind an 8 ball in the penalty kill. We lost, I think, Niagara kind of put us at like about 60% after that first weekend, or after the first couple weekends. We weren't, and then, real credit to, Kurt deals with that and found different ways. And it's hard to climb out of those, but one thing I like is right now is our penalty kill has been, really efficient. We're using 6 guys up front. We have good D buy-in back there. And any breakdown, our goalies have been really good. Like both Jacob and Cole, have done a really nice job. And your best penalty killer has to be your goalie. They got to make some saves for you. So I've been real happy there. And with our power play, Matty Nicholson works with our power play. He's working diligently on trying to find and continue to find ways to expose other teams' penalty kills. I think what I always say to our power play and penalty kill is it's performing when you need to perform. So if you need a goal and it's 3 minutes left, that's the time power play has to score. Or if we need a kill with 3 minutes left. And it doesn't matter what has happened the first 57 minutes of the game. It's that on-demand performance. And I think our guys take a lot of pride in that, and also I think with power play, it's a privilege to be out there. It's not a right. Like when they say with any special teams, I always tell guys, like, that's special teams is ice time that you can get one way or another based off your individual performance and buy-in. So if you want more ice time than just 5-on-5, then you got to find a way to get on a special teams unit. And I think for us, having a healthy competition, working on it quite a bit, like we worked on it today, we'll work on power play again tomorrow, penalty kill, and we'll touch on it a little bit Thursday, because it's such an important part for us.
Then Cole Moore producing the shutout there, I believe the first of the season. Thoughts on his performances in the win and what was ultimately, a 1-goal game?
Yeah, he's been really good. He's calm, cool, collective. Wasn't really pumped when he tried to go for the empty net. I don't know if you saw that or not, but anybody watching it, Mike, you weren't watching the game? Do you need a Midco sign in maybe so we can have you come watch us and support us there, Mike? So he had to stop behind the net. And he tried to go for the empty net up the middle of the ice. He got it out, but it was like, whew. You know what I mean? It's one of those on the bench, you're like, this could go one way or another here right now. And it was just high enough too. But good for him to be courageous that way. I wish we would have played a little differently, but from my standpoint on the bench. But you can see he's having fun again. He's playing. He was, I say all along, the first half of the year was a challenging year for him. It was a grinding year. First half, he didn't play a lot. He was pulled, right? Like there was just a lot going on, but you see what he's done now and how he's got himself out of that. And, you can see him now on the ice in practice, smiling, having fun. Because one thing with goalies, either you play or you don't. Forwards and D, you get 12 forwards, 7 D, probably get some ice time or minutes, and that's why I give a lot of respect for how he handled it during the first half of the year. I give a ton of respect right now for how Tyler Palmer's handling it right now, because they're just as important to me as any guy on our power play or any starting goalie. Everyone on our team has, like for me, is in order for us to have success, we need everybody bought in. I need everybody going the same way. We have some guys not playing a lot of minutes or even playing a lot of games. They get my time, one-on-one meetings or staff, no different than if you're Tyler Hodson, who leads our team, or Quinn Emerson, who's a senior, who's got whatever amount of points. They don't get any preferred treatment here with us. Everyone's treated equally, treated the same, in terms of our availability and video. And I think that's what makes our group a real competitive, good culture. Like they care for each other right off it. So Cole Moore, when he got that shutout, the guys were so pumped for him, because they also know it's been a challenging year, but he's found his way back. Real credit to him. And, I couldn't be happier with, him getting to get that shutout and to see the group rally around him in the locker room after and celebrate that with him. Like that just really, to me, that's a genuine group that's happy for somebody.
Coach, this weekend we'll have senior night on Saturday. Can you just reiterate what this batch of seniors means to this team and this organization?
Yeah, they're a great group. I'm real fortunate. I've got to coach them now for a couple of years, off it. And last year was like kind of a learning phase for all of us, right? And they're what's so neat about them, they all have different personalities, and they bring, such great cohesive positivity. They add to our culture. It's hard to believe. I said yesterday to my wife driving home that here we are on our second year of our last regular season home set. So now I really got to push for more games, hey? Like this is going way too fast for us right now, and it's kind of bittersweet, right? Like it's great to see these young men and what they've done in their 4 years here, and what they've gone through, and how they've came out on this side of it, being such integral parts to last year's team to this year's team, and they're a real tight group. I'm sure there's a lot of emotions going into the weekend, a lot of families in, and but it's a real special weekend. And, as I said all along, I hope we can deliver longevity for these guys to get to play for more than just a few more weekends.
And then obviously, Coach, winning is the end goal of each game. But, I mean, beyond that, what are you looking to get out of this weekend?
Yeah, growth. We need to clean up some areas from last weekend. So there's going to be some challenges there. We live in a part of our season where, it's result based right now. We don't have 68 games. We're not at game 30. And we're kind of putting guys in and out. But this is the fun part. This is what you work for. As I said to the guys, you wouldn't want it any other way. We're in a position that we control. And that's great for Bowling Green hockey. We're not in a position where we got to rely. We control what we control. We knew that coming down the second half. I like where our group's at. I like it a lot. Another good day of practice. Guys have been really bought in, dialed in, investing in their own development, wanting to be fixtures on the ice, wanting more ice time, guys. One thing I always tell them, be selfish with ice time. Not in the length of the shift, but getting more ice time, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great crowd. It's a great, we have our senior night. We have alumni weekend. There's just a lot going on for hockey right now that I know excites our guys, and we'll be ready to go at 7:07. I don't see Peter.
Yeah, I think that's it because we don't have no Peter.
Are we good, Mike? Do you got any questions about the game Saturday?
No questions.
You want to just speak on the seniors, what this class has meant to you?
Yeah, great. Seniors have they've been the foundation, for us right now. They're the guys that, as we transition from last year to this year, that I relied on quite heavily with our. I guess we had 12 new guys come in, and they've done a terrific job of mentoring and educating and teaching and big brother and bringing this group along. And where we are this year is heavily resulted based on that senior group. So, we want to do everything we can to try to give them a couple wins this weekend, which we know it's difficult. They're big factors on our team, and I couldn't say enough good things about these guys, not just what they bring on the ice, but more, to what they do off the ice. They're what they do in the community and in the locker room and building the culture and kind of, again, it's hard. It's hard to describe, but when you see like a Brett Foe coming back to do the lineup, and all he wanted to do is get back with the boys, there's a guy that, just was in the hospital for quite some time, right? And the day he got out, he's reading the starting lineup. Like he wanted to get back with the guys, and to me, that's a special group when guys truly enjoy each other's company. And, we always say, right, it's not, whether it's it's not so much the destination we're going, it's the people we get to do it with, and for this group, they're going to be tight knit for the rest of their lives. They've done a lot of great things here. And, again, our challenge will be to continue to play as many games for those guys as we can.